Alter Bridge has recorded over 100 songs across their 2-decade-long career. However, many of their tracks have been played live only a handful of times, and many more have never even seen the stage. My name's Justin, and in this video, we're gonna discuss why certain Alter Bridge songs have never been performed live. So, let's get to it. So obviously, Alter Bridge have performed hundreds of times and have many more shows on the horizon for this year and next, so it's tough to know for certain if a song has never been played live. Some songs are easier to determine than others, like anything from their recent albums. Pawns and Kings is only a month old, so they've only played about a dozen shows with songs from that record in the mix. Walk the Sky is a similar situation because a big chunk of the band's 2020 tour was cut off by the pandemic, so songs from that record never even got a chance to be performed to the same caliber as others. Because of that, in this video, I'm looking more at the band's first 5 records, since those songs have been around long enough to rack up a lot of plays. Also, I need to preface this video with the fact that I'm getting my data from setlist.fm. While this site is great for sharing setlist information, it is a crowdsourced wiki and not an official database vetted by the band members. There's bound to be at least one track from Alter Bridge's early days that was performed but never marked on the website, so keep that in mind going forward. With that said, let's start with the most obvious songs to never be featured on stage: B-sides. B-sides make up a third of Alter Bridge's unperformed tracks, and nearly half if you exclude songs from Pawns and Kings. In fact, Alter Bridge has only performed 5 of their album's worth of B-sides: New Way to Live and Cruel Sun from their debut record, Save Me, written for the 2005 superhero film Elektra, the oddly named instrumental Ahavo Rabo Taco Salad, and the only known Alter Bridge song to never be recorded, On My Way Now. That means there are 11 other B-sides spanning 5 records that have never graced the ears of fans live, which is such a shame because Alter Bridge has some absolutely killer B-sides. By the way, if you haven't seen my videos ranking every Alter Bridge B-side and bonus track, you can check it out here or with the link in the description below. Of course, as crazy as it is that they've neglected a full album's worth of tracks for their shows, it's not exactly a surprise. Most artists avoid performing B-sides or bonus tracks because just not enough people will recognize them, and it'll kill the flow of their set. B-sides are often a band's most obscure songs, so it makes sense why they would stray away from them. At a show, they have to appeal to as many fans as possible, from the casual listeners who only know a few songs to the mega fans who know the songs better than the band themselves. The more songs Alter Bridge writes, the more songs that could potentially fit into a set, and even more that get bumped as a result. In the pecking order for what makes a set list, B-sides are usually at the bottom, and at best reserved for very special occasions. As sad as it may sound, it's entirely possible that Alter Bridge may pass over certain songs because they just don't like playing them. These guys are pumping out so much music nowadays that it really wouldn't surprise me if they disliked some of their own music. It's natural for an artist to evolve over time and experiment with new ideas. So when you look back on your work from 5, 10, 15 years ago, it can become incredibly cringy and hard to acknowledge. Most of you guys weren't around when I started on YouTube as a drumming channel, but man, looking back on some of those videos I made makes me pretty embarrassed. Of course, I'm proud of how far I've come and the work I've put in along the way, but now when I watch those videos, there's so much that I could have done better or faster because of what I've learned. And the same is going to be true for any creator, whether that's a musician or an architect or a painter or anything else. Alter Bridge may dislike some of their older music, leading them to ignore the songs for their setlist. But Alter Bridge isn't like most bands. They have a very even distribution of popularity for their albums. Like, no one can agree on a definitive favorite. Some people prefer the early sound of One Day Remains and Blackbird when they still had some influence from Creed, whereas others prefer the polish of the early 2010s with AB3 and Fortress. A lot of people shit on The Last Hero and Walk the Sky for many reasons, but an equal amount have said that they love the records and think they're the best the band has ever made. And of course, we cannot forget about the newest album, Pawns and Kings. A lot of people are saying it's their best since Fortress or AB3, or just their best period. It's impossible to say that one album is the true fan favorite over all others, since people have such diverse opinions on their music. So now, what does this conundrum lead to? Well, a couple of things. First off, it's a safe bet for Alter Bridge to choose songs from any album for a show. They know that most fans will be decently satisfied no matter what songs they pick, because they've got enough tracks to make everybody happy. In fact, I've randomly generated this set of 18 songs from their catalog, minus B-sides. Would you feel content if this was the set list, even though it's missing some staples like Blackbird, Isolation, Metalingus, and Watch Over You? Let me know in the comments what you think. The second thing is that Alter Bridge may have to play some songs at each show, even if they don't like them. For all we know, Brian might hate playing Addicted to Pain, or Mark might be sick of the guitar parts on Open Your Eyes. But if the crowd really wants to hear those songs, they have to suck it up and play those tracks with a smile on their faces. And the longer a band is around, the more likely that they'll get tired of their old stuff because they played it hundreds of times, but then they still have to keep doing it because that's what the crowd wants to hear. Now, I would be shocked if the band actually despised playing some of their biggest hits, considering how much fun they seem to have on stage when performing them. It's not like their biggest crowd pleasers are all surface level radio tracks that the record company forced them to write. This is Alter Bridge, and I believe that they genuinely enjoy the songs they've written. However, my point still stands. They could just be insanely good at hiding their distaste for a certain song, and we might never know. And more specifically along the vein of disliking certain tracks, the band may actually avoid a song because it's too difficult for a live set. Mark once said that the band skips over Pieces Broken due to the complexity of the riff and the challenge of making it work live. I love this song, but I can see what he means, since it's probably one of his busiest riffs for Alter Bridge. Another track they've avoided is I Know It Hurts from AB3, since it literally hurts Mark's hands to play the part. Though this song has made its way into a couple of sets over the years, but most of the time it's left out. One track that's left fans extremely disappointed is Cradle to the Grave, one of the darkest songs from The Last Hero. This one has an extra sting to it since the band released a music video for it featuring the band performing live, but this track has never been performed on stage. So what they're showing in that video is not that song. However, when you factor in that Miles wrote the song about the passage of time and the inevitability of death, and then his mother-in-law passed away 2 weeks before recording the track, it's understandable how it might be too emotional to perform live. Plus, it's a crazy intense vocal part, so it might just be too demanding for a live set as well. Speaking of the vocals, they play a huge role in what songs make up a set list, arguably more so than any other instrument. Sure, if you're playing aggressive guitar or drum parts all night long, you're gonna get fatigued, but probably not as fast as the vocalist will if they have some really challenging parts. They have a responsibility to lead the show, and if the songs don't flow together and complement the vocalist's strengths, they could be done for halfway through the set. We all know Miles is a beast of a singer, but he's human, and he still gets tired after a long night of singing. Chaining compatible songs together and then excluding others is crucial for him to make it through the show night after night. Why do you think All Ends Well is never performed live? That crazy high note at the start of the chorus would be murder on your vocal cords. I know Miles has done this one a few times on his solo tours, but he's likely modified the part to make it easier and more appropriate for an acoustic context. With Alter Bridge, I don't think he'd have that liberty. There are many more reasons and examples for why Alter Bridge leaves out certain songs in their shows, whether it's because they haven't had time to rehearse them, or because they have better songs with similar energies already in place, or because the song would just kill the vibe of the show. But really, what it all boils down to is the band's preferences. For each show, the members of Alter Bridge have to strike a balance between playing songs for the fans and playing songs for themselves. There will inevitably be some overlap between the two categories, but if for whatever reason a song doesn't fall into either one, then there's really no reason for them to perform it. Big singles will continue to make an appearance since they draw in new listeners, and the classics keep OG fans coming back for more. A few deep cuts here and there will satisfy the super fans, and that leaves just a couple of songs only for the band. And if any of those things happen to overlap, all the more reason to keep playing those songs. When it comes down to it, Alter Bridge faces the same decision as any artist with a large catalog, but with the added challenge of branching into a million side projects and keeping that music straight too. Maybe if they weren't so busy with all that other stuff, they'd be able to incorporate uncommon songs into more shows, but that would mean we'd miss out on hundreds of other good tracks with some great artists. If the trade-off for never hearing Fallout or Losing Patience played live is that I get an album from Tremonti or Miles Kennedy every few years, then I'll take the new music every time. Speaking of which, you should check out this video next where I ranked all of Tremonti's B-sides and bonus tracks. We may never see him perform any of these songs live, but they are still worth a listen. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you there.